Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the next part of the Yoshitaka Mono mobile platform project where, as you can see, last time we started doing a little bit of the getting kind of first coats done on the platform itself here, and just looking at it and comparing that to our final, our hopeful image here is we're looking a little pristine right now. I know the globe is different than on the inspiration one here, but I really do like this globe as it came out. Platform itself, though, is looking a lot too pristine on this. We're going to see if we can try to muddy up the waters. Actually, it's probably going to take like maybe 10-15 minutes or so right now, kind of work on that. And then I'll probably disappear for the rest of the day, come back. For you, it's not going to be much, but for me, I just have a couple ideas I want to try out, and then I'll finish off this session probably tomorrow. I'll join the two pieces together and really like the legs or something. But I have a couple ideas I want to try out just to see if we can muddy up this platform a bit. The upper part may need it as well, may not. I'm not sure. Mid's going to cover a lot of that, so I'm not super concerned with that part at the moment. But this green has got to get broken up somehow, because I like it. I think it works as a first coat. It works as a base coat, but yeah. And I figure last time I did the entirety of the muddying up of the globe off camera, which is kind of a shame because that's kind of where all the magic happened in that one. The first coat was terrible, then all of a sudden you popped in and bam, it was done. So let's see if we can not do that this time and actually do it right. And for this, I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to keep this whole thing together this time so I can paint everything at once. And move you off the side. And what I'm thinking of doing on this is have a little bit of water on me as I drop that over here. And I think I was doing a couple washes of I can do a couple washes like really watered down grays, really watered down kind of mixture of like gray and green, whatnot. Maybe add a little bit of yellow or orange or something in there. Add maybe a little bit of that. And just kind of, I was going to say do it just like I have on the side of the screen here. I didn't have anything on the side of the screen, and that image doesn't help. Can we slide you over? Yeah. So you can maybe bring some of those types of colors in here a little bit. Primarily kind of the grays or whatnot. But I don't want it to be overwhelming, so we're just going to experiment on camera here. Get a start on it, and I may finish this off camera. But I just want to get, like I said, I didn't do any of this on camera for the globe part. And so I'm just going to start with just a little bit of water. Let's get, I don't know if I want the light or dark gray. Yeah, I think I'm going to go a little bit lighter. Let's go light gray. And we are going to experiment. This might work, this might not work. Alright, so we got a little bit of that. Get a little bit of our mixing here. I might have too much water. I can almost guarantee I have too much water in this. Yeah, that's just going to wind up being too much water in there, so it's not going to be able to do anything. All I want is just like a couple little drops. All I want is just a little bit. We don't need to overwhelm this thing. Alright, now we can add a little bit of you. Mix this up. We're going to be mixing a number of different kind of colors into this. It's not just going to be gray. This is just kind of the first. I can see it's feeling very watery, which is kind of what we want. And we're going to be very inexact science on this, rather than use like the tiny brushes I've been doing before. I'm going to use a little bit of a wider one on this, and we're going to see what we can do to just kind of this is going to whoop, didn't mean to do that. This is going to be a little, oh yeah, we can put that on, kind of brush some things off. pop some on there, brush it off, and we're just going to wind up just kind of muddying the waters a little bit in certain areas. Again, we're not looking for exacts on here. Some parts can always be a little more than others. Let's get up into some of this stuff just a little. I do think we can't just stop there. We do have to get all the way up into a couple of these little spots to bring it down. Some spots can be a little heavier, some spots can be a little lighter. And at the end of all this, I think like I did on the globe, I believe I'll have to rewatch the video. I think I just did a wash of just like a brown or something over everything in the end. And that wound up kind of making the difference and tying all of this together. I said, I just want to try a little bit of this on here. Maybe it'll work, maybe not. Then I'll kind of maybe finish this off camera. But just so you kind of get an idea of what's going on. Alright, let's get a little bit on the front here. I probably shouldn't have too much. It looks like a mustache on the front. So let's wipe a decent chunk of that off. It's okay to have some character. We don't need to look like a Snidely Whiplash kind of thing going on. That just seems wrong. Let's do that so we can get to this side. Kind of the same thing. Figured while I have this thing on here, I might as well finish with this color before I start with a different color. Because we're going to be doing, a couple different blendings with this. This ought to help. Ought to hopefully help give a little bit more of that kind of free look that we're going for. It's kind of similar to Kai's Camouflage, only that one is more regimented, and this is just a lot more free form. There's no hard direction on how it goes. It just kind of does, with a little bit of a wipe off in the end, just so we don't have any heavy colors on here. Get a little bit on the underside of this as well. That's really all we need, just little bits of that. Where'd we go? Let's not lose this. Kind of want that. Alright, already we're starting to get a little bit of something in here. He has... let me bring up my own image real quick. There's not so much yellowish stuff in there. It's kind of between the green, the gray, and like kind of little pockets of white. So let me just add the little pocket of white in here. I have this, just get a couple extra drops in. That's all we want. And then maybe once all this is done, it'll help inform some of the other elements, maybe some of the colors on the legs or whatnot too. not too bad. It gives just a little bit of something more in here that it kind of didn't have before. And you can see that it's a different shade going on here than what it was, and that's really all we need off of that. Let's get that to kind of start all the way up against. Let's go up against kind of the bottom of that tassel there. Okay, we're going to do a little bit less of this shade on here than we had, but it'll give. And then I think after this I'm going to come back with another kind of shade of green or something to bring it back just a little bit. I don't want to lose all of this undercolor that's on here. A little bit is fine, but I don't want to lose all of it. Actually, how are we doing? Yeah, okay, not too bad. You come down, you're going out. Yeah, again, the longer you let it sit on there, the more color is going to stay on that. The harder you push down, the more you're going to take off and whatnot. So this is highly variable, what we can and what we do and don't really want to do on this. So I'm kind of putting down and immediately trying to get this off, but that's kind of a game plan on that part. Let's bring it back to our starting point here. Let's see if we can add a little bit of, let's get a little bit of our bright green on this. This is the one I looked at before and said, "Ooh, no," but let's see if we can add a little bit of this and see if that changes things for the better. Okay, so it's a very kind of palish looking green, so that ought to help a little bit. And let's see what this does. Again, there's no real reason to clean out this brush between things, because why? And just kind of using just a general kind of the feeling for when I get enough versus not enough on here. It's just using general sense of aesthetics to know when we've gone far enough and when it's time to put some more on somewhere. That's kind of all I'm going off of. Yeah, this still won't look right, or 100% right, I think, until I put like a wash or something over everything. But this should help give at least a start to that. Now we don't really need this kind of dark green all over the bottom here. We can add some of this to it. But it's definitely toning it down. I'll give it that. Could use a couple streaks now, actually a darker green kind of on here. First we need to kind of finish off with this guy. Let's see if we can't kind of create a little bit of that watercolor-ish look. So far I'm kind of happy with this. It seems to be doing what I want it to, which is nice. Don't put too much on. You put too much on and it doesn't, and it starts, again, these are very fast dry kind of acrylics. Depending what paint you use, you're going to want things to sit a little longer, not sit a little longer, whatnot. It's going to change, but these guys dry very fast. So let's not let things sit too long on here. A little bit on the bottom there. That goes in. Kind of a muddy mess on that. Let's get some of the olive green into this. Oh, come on. Almost might need a little bit more water in this guy again. Alright, back to the darker version. Well, quote unquote darker. Actually, if I want to be a little darker, I can add just like a touch of black. Oop, too much, too much. That's going to muddy this thing up. I wanted one drop. That gave me more than I wanted. Actually, that should be fine. There are definitely a couple darker spots on there. And I am pulling this stuff off basically as soon as it goes on. So even if it does wind up being a little dark, he's going to be alright. He's going to be good. That didn't wind up too dark. That basically just brought us right back to our first color. And I'm really not worried about wiping some of this stuff off. Just kind of keep some of this. Yeah, that really did kind of bring this right back to the first color again. Which actually isn't a bad thing to kind of bring some of that back in, because now they're in here we can make some of these kind of sharper edges back in here again, which isn't bad. So these I don't need to necessarily wipe off. That's not looking terrible. Do I want more light or dark? Hard to tell. But you know what? At this point, I think I'm just going to sit on it over here. I'm going to disappear for just a moment and be right back. For you, no time is going to pass, but for me, I'll probably be back tomorrow to finish off the rest of this stuff. I'll play a little bit with this off camera, and yeah, just hang tight and I will be right back. And we're back. For me, it's actually the next day, but coming right back in here. As you can see, I put a little more color in here, got a little more kind of dark in. It's kind of starting to look a little bit like military fatigues going on here. I got a little bit of that camouflage look kind of going, which I'm not sure is good or not good, but color schemes were not too terribly far off of what we're dealing with on our inspiration image there. But I think ultimately what we're going to do is get like a really watered down kind of gray or something on here and just do a wash over everything to kind of blend it all back in and kind of maybe lighten it off just a little bit on that front. But as I said, I think previous time, or the previous half of this session, was I was going to maybe jump on the legs or whatnot with time I have remaining. I think I want to do something with this big block of purple that's going on up here. It just looks like a big mass of purple and nothing else. None of this actually reads, which there are really kind of a couple ways we can go and make this read a little better. And first is I can go and make this a semi-gloss rather than just the matte that I'm using right now. But typically if I'm doing this, in my mind, this is still kind of a fabric piece, and unless you're dealing with like a silk, and really not much more than that, that's really all it's going to give you, that kind of shine to it. So I'm not sure if I want this to have that, and I don't want this to be, I don't really want this to catch your eye. I want like the image of the globers on the catch your eye instead. So rather than that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and see what happens when I try to fake depth on these things. And what I'm going to do is take some more of the purple, mix just like a drop of the black in there, then just kind of go down the creases in here and see if we can kind of fake the appearance of kind of depth in this without making the entire thing shiny, because that's not really the goal I'm going for. I just want to have at least some purple on that, enough that we can absorb hopefully just a drop of black. All I'm looking for is like a drop. We want this to be very subtle. If you go any more than that, all of a sudden it becomes an in-your-face kind of darkness. We just want a very subtle change in color. You can see that's already maybe a little much on that. I'm actually going to put a little more purple back in there. One drop of white and one drop of black usually does wonders in terms of changing colors around. Okay, we just want that hint of difference without drawing your eye to it and going, hey, look at me. Draw your eye over here. It's like, no, there are other aspects we need this thing to draw your eye to. And this isn't necessarily it. And that said, you're not really going to see much of this anyway. Okay, so let's see. So once again, I don't need the bottom half of this. We're just doing the top. And once again, I'm going to be doing this with my glasses off, because I do want to be somewhat neat on this. Now, this may work, this may not. I'm not 100% sure. If I'm doing something like that, I need a finer brush than what I'm using. Yeah, okay, so I think I need a finer brush than what I have. This one's not quite gonna cut it. I have some good cut-in brushes. I do have some left over that are still good in this regard. I don't think this is one of them. Alright, give me 1 second. I didn't anticipate that being the issue. Anticipated other things being the issue. Not having the right brush wasn't exactly on my go-to list of things that wasn't going to work out. Problem is, I have so dang many brushes to kind of choose from, and none of them are particularly... Give me 1 second. I think I have one stored out. Yoink. Down here. Alright, I keep one special one here kind of saved for these types of things where I kind of want it to be a little finer. All I'm looking for is just see if we can get, I think I need actually a little more black in that. Well, we can start with this and go from there. I can always add a little more to it, but let's see. So what we can have is we can just have, maybe we just go all the way down with this particular color. and then I can get like a black or something and go actually in the center parts. Good thing is if this doesn't work, I can just recolor this again with just a straight up purple and that'll be fine. So not super terribly concerned if this doesn't work, but I just think it needs something to give it a little bit of depth to it. It's just a little too plain as is. Alright, so how are we doing? I suppose I also could have just done a wash, like I said, over everything, because the color would then kind of, pigments would want to wash themselves down into these grooves and crevices. So that probably would have also worked just as well. But I've decided on this method for it, and we're just going to go from here. At the same time, if I have little kind of wobbly lines, I can clean things up with actually just a straight up purple too. And kind of, if I have lines that are too thick, or they're kind of zigzagging, I can always just kind of touch up edges to make it work a little better. But even the glass is off right now. This is looking like it's reading better. Hopefully for you, it's also reading. Otherwise, I just spent a fair amount of time just actually going over a lot of my ultra videos that I've been putting out and just kind of seeing where that whole kind of process has been taking me and taking you guys, and definitely covered a number of topics at this point. I'm also not really a great public speaker, but that's something we're working on over time with this. Eventually, that's going to hopefully get better. Although I've been saying that for a while now, and I don't think it has, but eventually I will learn to slow down how I talk so that my brain and mouth can kind of function at the same speed. Might be helpful. But have come a long way on that training front. Then again, we are over halfway. We're down to really only about 7 weeks of the harder stuff to go, and then it's going to be 3 weeks of quote-unquote easier, don't be dumb weeks by the time we get into April itself, where you don't want to injure yourself or do anything that can harm yourself for race day. Okay, this is already, I think, looking better. It's probably really, really rough when I put the glasses back on and kind of hold this thing away. I know it's going to be really rough when we do touch up. I'm going to be doing a number of kind of touch up things on this just to thin out some of these lines. Some of them are probably a little beefy and wobbly and not great, but all I'm looking for right now is just get the basic looks. We can actually, this looks like what it wants to be, not just a flat thing of purple. Dang it, I molded this to look like, or carved this thing out to look like it was going to be like a mattressy kind of look, and I'm going to get it there. We're going to make this look like a little mattressy kind of thing. That's just what it's going to be. Alright, almost there, almost there. A little bit on that edge. I'll put the glasses on. I'll see what you guys are seeing as you guys are kind of seeing it. And I'll realize, no, what did I do? Alright, here we go. Yeah, as soon as this video is recorded, I'm going to go out and finally do my 10-mile run as well, because I do want to get that in this weekend, and I'm going to be slowly running out of time over this weekend to do it. So this might be going out on Thursday. This one's being recorded on Sunday, and I really do want to get this thing in before. I am kind of looking forward. This will be the first time it's actually going to be in the 40s when going out, which is, haven't seen those temperatures in a long time. Okay, how did this do? If I put the glasses on, how do you do? Okay, so at least that now, it gives a little bit of something for sure. Actually, that's not terrible. That is not terrible. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. Shoop-a-doop-a-doop-boop-boop. Yeah, and how much time has passed? Not much time has passed to do that either. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a piece of plastic that I can put this in case I want to use it again to touch up some things. Yeah, and then I want to clean out this brush. That's over here with that's with my water. And let's go ahead and see if we can maybe make this army fatigue stuff blend in a little bit. It definitely has a little bit of an awkward look to it. I'm not gonna lie, it is very military. There's no hiding that. It is very, very military in its look. Okay, so do-de-do-de-do-de-do-de-do. That is beach glass. That is not what I'm looking for. There's my light gray. So I want to have this. I want to have a boatload of water. I definitely want this to be very watered down, just to give, like I said, just a once over everything. What was this? That is 100% not useful. You're 100% not useful. Okay. I have various cups here that I didn't actually clean out that I should have, maybe. Too much water. Too much. We need some water, not that much. Okay. Let's grab you. Let's grab a little bit of that. Find my stirring stick, which is somewhere. And I think if we're going to be just like we're going to add, or just kind of like the globe one, I think I want to add just a little bit of an earthy color to it. Even if it's just a couple drops of like the brown, just a little bit to muddy it up just a little. There's just a couple little drops in there. And the goal is just kind of muddy the thing up a little bit. Again, this is super watery. It's not going to be, it shouldn't be an in-your-face anything. Let's see. Trying to get fingernails, and I don't have a fingernail to go off of to hold things. Okay, I should be able to do that, and that'll be fine. And let's see, how can let's do this just a little bit higher down here so I can kind of hold you up. And let's see what happens with this. Really, if we go over the tassels, it doesn't really matter, because I still haven't painted the tassels yet, so. Maybe don't want to get on the purple though, at least not too much. Okay, we can see kind of where it hit things and kind of where it didn't. Let's make sure we hit all of the stuff that we want to hit. And this is good. This tones things down a little bit, which I think it kind of needed. And as soon as we put it on, we're taking it right off. So we have now kind of on one side toned down, whereas the other side is not toned down. Oop. Let's put that on there. And keep going around. Make sure we hit, if not all of the stuff, a great deal of the stuff. I think if I had used a little more water, I wouldn't need to wipe this off like I am, but it's all good. Is all good. This is doing what I wanted it to. I hope once we put the globe on here, we'll find out if it is. Then again, I need to remember this is not a completed model yet. I don't have mid on here. He's going to be drawing your eye to stuff. So right now your eye is drawn specifically to this, whereas in the final reveal of everything, it's not going to be that case. So we need to keep in mind this isn't 100% finished as is. There are parts of it that are not done in there in any way, shape, or form. And I never really painted the back of this, and I don't really worry about that. We're just not going to worry about that. What do we have on the underside? Let's do the underside stuff as well. Stuff down there. Let's get around the edge. If I'm doing this underside stuff, I really don't need this clamped anymore. But we still will. You know, just in case. Just in case. I don't need to be nice against the gray, because we're not really, I still have to paint more gray. That kind of evens out that. What are we at right now? We're at around 40 minutes. And that kind of maybe helps this out. The legs are going to look very stark up against this now. Yeah, we can see now the legs 100% do not match this. But I think that's going to be okay. We're just going to put it together. We're just going to kind of call it here. Few minutes earlier than normal, but I don't really feel like starting something else at this point. So let's go and just pop you together. And then next time, hopefully, we'll be getting into the other legs, because I started on those, then I disappeared for a while. So would be nice to get back. All right, so kind of want to put these guys back on too, because I kind of want to see how this whole thing, wrong one, wrong piece, that piece goes there. I still have yet to finish this thing off, so these are on the list as well. They're coming soon. not quite, but it's coming soon. Okay. Whoop. That's back, that's there. I can try to move some things out of the way. And if we have that, it is still a very bright purple, but again, we're going to have mid sitting on there. And yeah. Yeah. It's on the to-do list. On the forever to-do list. Got a couple little books up here. Let's go ahead and stick here, you up here as well. I mean, that's kind of, if I clean out my area just a little bit so we can actually see this without all the stuff in the way. It's definitely turning into a thing. Once again, our splash page has it look a little more toned down than what we have. I can still play. I can do another coat of the whatever on there and kind of bring this in. But yeah, all of a sudden now the legs feel really, really stark on that. So we're going to be fixing that as we go. But I think I want to do a coat on all of the legs first before I get to that. And then we'll deal with kind of doing all of them together. So at least when I get to that, they're all going to be in the same range. But there is at least, I think, an improvement on this. This has a little bit of 3D look to it. A little bit, not much, but it's just a little bit to then break up your eye. And yeah, that just kind of is what it is. But that's where we are right now. And next time will be next time. And we'll do stuff from there. And until then, enjoy.